The air inside the Seoul private hospital felt too quiet, like it knew secrets it refused to speak. He stood there, tailored suit, unreadable eyes, presence heavy enough to shift gravity itself, while she struggled to breathe through the moment. Something impossible stirred between them, uninvited and undeniable. Not love, not yet, but something close, something dangerous. And sometimes the heart learns before the mind catches up. Because in life, not every warning is meant to protect you. Some are meant to guide you to what you're afraid to want. Today's story will show you how love can grow in the most unexpected places, and why walking away isn't always strength. Please like, share, and subscribe. Sign nothing, the Korean doctor said, calm, firm, final, and her husband froze. The pen hovered just above the paper. Then slowly, deliberately, he put it down. Avery Blake blinked. Once, twice. Her fingers tightened against the hospital blanket, her pulse suddenly loud in her ears. She didn't understand Korean fluently, but she knew enough to recognize tone, authority, interruption. Something was wrong. Why? Her husband asked, voice edged with irritation. We've already discussed— No, the doctor cut in again. You've discussed what benefits you. Silence. Thick, heavy, almost suffocating. Avery turned her head slightly, her curls brushing the pillow. Her gaze moved between the two men. Her husband, Daniel, looked annoyed. But the doctor? He looked dangerous. Not loud, not aggressive, just controlled. Too controlled. Translate, Avery whispered weakly. Daniel exhaled sharply. It's nothing. Just protocol? He's lying, the doctor said in flawless English. The room shifted. Daniel's jaw tightened. Excuse me? You're rushing her discharge against medical advice, the doctor continued, tone steady, eyes never leaving Daniel's face, and asking her to sign documents she hasn't fully understood. Avery's breath hitched. What documents? She asked. Daniel turned to her quickly. Baby, it's just insurance forms, nothing serious. The doctor didn't look at her this time. He looked at Daniel, and something unspoken passed between them. Something cold, something dangerous. Insurance doesn't require urgency, the doctor said quietly, unless there's something you're trying to hide. Daniel stepped forward. Watch your tone. The doctor didn't move, didn't blink, didn't react. Or what? He asked, softly. Avery swallowed. This wasn't normal. Hospitals weren't supposed to feel like this, like battlefields wrapped in silence. Daniel, she murmured, uncertain. He glanced at her, forcing a smile. It's fine, just a misunderstanding. But Avery saw it, the tension, the flicker of something sharp behind his eyes. And then something else. Fear? No, not fear, annoyance at being interrupted. The doctor finally turned toward her, and for the first time, their eyes met. Avery forgot how to breathe. It wasn't just that he was handsome, though he was. Striking in that quiet, composed way, sharp jawline, dark eyes that held too much. It was the way he looked at her, like he already knew something, like he saw through everything. Ms. Blake, he said gently, his voice softer now. Do you feel well enough to make legal decisions today? She hesitated. Her head still hurt, her body still weak from the accident 3 days ago. Everything felt foggy. I don't know. That's enough, the doctor said. Daniel scoffed. You're overstepping. No, he replied calmly. I'm doing my job. A pause. Then, I suggest you leave, the doctor added. The air froze. Avery blinked again. Wait, what? Leave? Daniel repeated, incredulous. Do you know who you're talking to? The doctor tilted his head slightly. Yes, and somehow that single word carried weight, heavy, certain, unshaken. Daniel laughed once, humorless. You're going to regret this. Maybe, the doctor said. Probably not, but still. Avery's heart skipped. The words shouldn't have sounded so familiar, so human. But they did. And for some reason, that grounded her more than anything else. Daniel grabbed his jacket. "This isn't over." "No," the doctor agreed. "It isn't." The door shut harder than necessary. Silence followed. Avery stared at the ceiling for a moment, then slowly turned back to the doctor. "What just happened?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to the window, hands slipping into his coat pockets. Outside, Seoul stretched endlessly. Glass towers, distant mountains, the quiet hum of a city that never truly slept. "It means," he said finally, "you shouldn't trust everything you're told." Avery frowned. "That's not an answer." He glanced back at her, and something in his gaze softened. "Then let me give you one," he said. He stepped closer now. Not too close, but close enough for her to notice the subtle scent of clean linen and something warmer underneath. "You were in an accident," he continued, "but the details don't add up." Her stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" He paused, measured his words carefully. "I mean, someone may have wanted you exactly where you are right now." Avery's breath caught. That's insane." "Is it?" She shook her head quickly. "Yes, Daniel would never— I didn't say it was him." Another pause. Longer this time, more dangerous. "But you thought it," he added quietly. Avery looked away. Because she had. Just for a second. Just a flicker of doubt. And now she hated herself for it. "What's your name?" she asked suddenly. He blinked, slightly surprised by the shift. "Jihoon," he said. "Kang Jihoon." The name settled between them. Solid. Unmoving. "I'm Avery," she said softly. "I know." Of course he did. He was her doctor. But still, the way he said it felt different, like he'd memorized it. Later that evening, the hospital room felt smaller, quieter, too quiet. Avery sat up slowly, wincing slightly as she adjusted the blanket. Her phone rested in her lap, screen lit. 3 missed calls from Daniel. 1 message. "We need to talk. Don't listen to that doctor." She stared at it, then locked the screen. Something didn't feel right, not just about the accident, but about everything. The door opened softly. She looked up. Jihoon. Again. "You should be resting," he said. "I tried," she replied. "Didn't work." He nodded slightly, as if he expected that. "May I?" he asked, gesturing toward the chair. She hesitated, then nodded. He sat. Quietly, comfortably, like he belonged there. "You didn't answer my question earlier," she said. "Which one?" "What doesn't add up?" He exhaled slowly, then leaned forward slightly. "The car that hit you," he began, "had no driver on record." Avery frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "It doesn't," he agreed, "which is why it matters." Her heart started racing again. "And Daniel?" she asked cautiously. Jihoon's expression didn't change. "I don't trust coincidences," he said. That wasn't an answer, but it was enough. Avery looked down at her hands, then back at him. "Why are you helping me?" The question hung there, heavy, honest, real. Jihoon didn't answer right away. Instead, he studied her. The curve of her face, the quiet strength in her eyes, the vulnerability she was trying so hard to hide. And something inside him shifted, unfamiliar, unwelcome but undeniable. "I don't know yet," he said finally. Avery blinked. That wasn't what she expected. "Yet?" He stood, slowly. "Yes," he said. "Yet." And just before he turned to leave, "You should be careful who you trust, Avery." A pause. Then, "Because I already know I won't be able to stay uninvolved." The door closed behind him, and for the first time since the accident, Avery felt it. That strange, quiet pull, dangerous, unavoidable, and somehow comforting. The next morning, the sun filtered softly through the blinds, casting thin golden lines across the room. Avery barely slept. Her mind kept replaying everything. The doctor, the warning, Daniel's reaction. None of it made sense, but it all felt connected. The door opened again. This time, a nurse entered carrying a tray. "Breakfast," she said cheerfully. "Miyok guk. It's good for recovery." Avery smiled faintly. "Thank you." As the nurse set the tray down, Avery glanced at the steaming soup. Warm, comforting, familiar in a way she couldn't explain. "Dr. Kang will be checking on you soon," the nurse added. Avery nodded, and for reasons she didn't want to examine too closely, her heart skipped. Just a little. Maybe, probably not, but still. The hallway outside her room carried a different kind of silence the next morning. Less sterile, more watchful, like the building itself had started paying attention. Avery noticed it immediately. People didn't just walk past anymore. They slowed down. They glanced in, then quickly looked away. "Okay, that's not normal," she murmured to herself. She sat upright, pushing the tray of miyokguk aside after only a few spoonfuls. Her appetite had disappeared somewhere between suspicion and unease. The door opened again. Jihoon stepped in. Same composed expression, same quiet authority, but something about him today felt sharper. "You didn't eat," he noted. She raised a brow. "You always this observant, or just with me?" A brief pause, then, "Just with you." The answer came too easily, too honestly. Avery blinked, caught off guard. "Oh." He moved closer, scanning her chart, but she could feel it, the subtle shift in the air again, that tension, that pull. "You're being watched," he said casually. Her stomach dropped. "Excuse me?" He glanced at her. "Not in here, but outside, yes." Avery let out a breath. "You're saying this way too calmly." "Because panic won't help you." "Well, neither does vague warnings," she snapped. He nodded once. "Fair." A beat. Then, "Your husband filed for temporary medical guardianship last night." Everything inside her stilled. "What?" Jihoon's jaw tightened slightly. "He claims you're not mentally fit to make decisions after the accident." Avery laughed. Once, sharp, disbelieving. "That's ridiculous." "Yes," Jihoon agreed. "It is. But it gives him legal access to sign on your behalf." Her chest tightened. The papers, the pen. "That's what he wanted me to sign yesterday." Jihoon didn't respond. He didn't need to. Avery pressed her lips together, her thoughts racing now. No, Daniel wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" Jihoon asked quietly. She hesitated. "Wouldn't what? Lie, manipulate, control?" Her silence answered for her. Jihoon stepped closer, lowering his voice. "You don't have to defend him right now." "I'm not." "You are." A pause. Avery looked away. "I just don't understand why." Jihoon studied her for a moment, then said, "Power. Simple, cold, accurate." Avery swallowed. "Then why are you helping me?" she asked again, softer this time. Jihoon didn't look away. "Because I don't like seeing someone used," he said. That wasn't the full truth, and they both knew it, but neither pushed further. A knock interrupted them. The door opened. A man stepped in. Tall, confident, dressed too well for a casual visit. "Ah, there she is." Avery frowned. "Do I know you?" He smiled easily, stepping closer. "Min Jae-hyun," he introduced. "Friend of your husband." Jihoon didn't move, didn't speak, but something in the room shifted again. Colder, sharper. Jae-hyun's eyes flicked toward Jihoon briefly, then back to Avery. "You look better than I expected," he said smoothly. "Daniel was worried." Avery forced a small smile. "I'm recovering." Clearly. His gaze lingered a second too long. Jihoon noticed. Of course he did. "Visiting hours are limited," Jihoon said flatly. Jae-hyun chuckled. Relax, doctor. I won't take long." He pulled a chair closer to Avery's bed, sitting with casual confidence. Too casual. "So," he continued, leaning slightly forward, "Seoul treating you well so far?" Avery hesitated. "I haven't exactly seen much of it." "That can change," he said. When you're out of here, I could show you around. Itaewon, maybe a proper dinner, not hospital food. Jihoon's expression didn't change, but his hand tightened slightly against the chart. Avery noticed, and for some reason, her pulse quickened. That's kind of you, she said carefully. Jaehyun smiled. Kindness is underrated. Not always genuine, Jihoon added. The words landed quietly, but heavily. Jaehyun's smile didn't falter. Ah, protective, are we? Jihoon met his gaze, unblinking. Professional. A beat. Then, of course, Jaehyun said lightly, standing. Wouldn't want to overstay. He turned back to Avery. Think about that offer, he added. Seoul's better when you're not alone. And just like that, he left. Silence followed. Avery exhaled slowly. That was weird. Jihoon didn't respond immediately. Instead, he's not your friend, he said. I figured. Another pause. Then Avery tilted her head slightly. You didn't like that. Jihoon glanced at her. I didn't like what? The way he was talking to me. A pause, then, no, he admitted. Avery's lips curved slightly. Jealous? Jihoon's gaze darkened. Careful, he said quietly, but there was no real warning in it. Just tension, unspoken, building. I'm just asking, she replied softly, and I'm choosing not to answer. A beat? Well, then, which is an answer? She murmured. Jihoon looked at her again. Longer this time, too long, and something shifted. Again. Later that evening, the city lights painted Seoul in gold and shadow. Avery stood by the window now, finally allowed to move around her room. Her body still ached, but her mind was worse. Everything felt off, unstable, uncertain. The door opened quietly behind her. She didn't turn. You walk too quietly, she said. Jihoon stepped inside. I wasn't trying to be heard. She smiled faintly. I noticed. A pause. Then, you should rest. I'm tired of resting. Another pause. Longer. He stepped closer. Not too close, but closer than before. You're thinking too much, he said. I don't have a choice. You do. She turned then, facing him fully. No, I don't, she said. Because every time I start to feel like I understand something, it changes. A beat. Her voice softened. And you don't make it easier. Jihoon stilled. Good, he said quietly. Avery blinked. Good. Yes. He stepped closer again. This time, close enough. If you trusted me too easily, he continued, I'd question your judgment. Her breath caught. Do you want me to trust you? Another step. Barely any space between them now. I want you to be careful, he said. Her heart was racing. Too fast. Too loud. And you? She whispered. Should I be careful of you too? A pause. Dangerous. Honest. Absolutely. Silence. Heavy. Charged. And then he stepped back. Just like that. Breaking it. Avery exhaled slowly, her chest rising and falling. See, that's exactly what I mean, she murmured. And Jihoon didn't respond. Instead, you'll be discharged in 2 days, he said. She frowned. That soon? Yes. And Daniel? Jihoon's expression hardened slightly. He won't be the one picking you up. Avery blinked. What does that mean? It means, Jihoon said calmly, you'll be staying somewhere else. Her pulse spiked again. Where? A pause. Then, with me. Silence. Total. Absolute. Avery stared at him. You're serious? Yes. That's insane. Maybe. A beat. Probably not, he added. Avery let out a breath. You really don't do normal, do you? Jihoon's gaze softened slightly. No, he said. I don't. And for some reason, that didn't scare her as much as it should have. The word insane lingered in the air long after it was said, but neither of them took it back. Avery crossed her arms slowly, trying to steady the sudden rush in her chest. With you, she repeated. You barely know me. Jihoon didn't flinch. I know enough. That's not reassuring. It's not meant to be. She exhaled sharply, pacing a few steps despite the dull ache in her side. This is exactly what I'm talking about, she muttered. You say things like they're decisions already made. They are, he replied. Avery stopped, turned. Excuse me? Jihoon held her gaze, steady as ever. Daniel has already filed paperwork. By the time you're discharged, he'll try again, he said. And next time, he won't be polite about it. A chill slid down her spine. So your solution is what? I hide in your house like some... Protected, he corrected. She let out a small, incredulous laugh. That's just a nicer word for controlled. A pause, then, not by me. The words landed differently. Avery searched his face. You're serious? Yes. Silence stretched between them again. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with everything unspoken. And what do you get out of this? She asked finally. Jihoon didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer, slower this time, giving her space to move away. She didn't. I told you, he said quietly. I don't like seeing you used. That's not enough, she whispered. Another pause. Then, it is for me. Avery swallowed, because somehow she believed him, and that was the problem. The next morning, Seoul felt colder. Even with sunlight breaking across the skyline, something about the day carried tension. Avery signed her discharge papers carefully this time, every word read, every line understood. Jihoon stood nearby, silent, watching, always watching. You're intense, you know that? She murmured without looking up. I've been told. Does it ever get exhausting? No. She glanced at him, half amused. Of course not. A nurse approached, handing Avery a folded handbox-style wrap to wear over her clothes. For comfort, she explained with a smile. Avery ran her fingers over the fabric, soft, elegant, different. Thank you, she said. As the nurse left, Avery looked at Jihoon again. So, where exactly am I going? Gangnam, he replied. Her brows lifted. Of course you are. He didn't react. Penthouse? She guessed. Yes. She shook her head slightly. You really live in a different world. Jihoon's gaze lingered on her. You're already in it. Avery didn't respond, because she wasn't sure she could argue with that anymore. Later that afternoon, the car ride was quiet. Too quiet. The city passed by in blurred motion, street vendors selling hot talk, couples walking past cafes, the distant hum of life continuing as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. Avery stared out the window. You don't talk much, she said suddenly. Jihoon, seated beside her in the back seat, glanced over. I talk when it matters. And this doesn't? It does. Then why are you quiet? A pause. Then, because if I start saying everything I'm thinking, he said, voice low, you'll ask me to stop. Her breath caught. Try me. He held her gaze, long, measured. I then looked away. Not yet. Avery leaned back slightly, heart racing again. See, that's frustrating. I know, but you keep doing it. Yes, a beat. You like control. Another pause, then. I like certainty, he corrected. And you're certain about me? He didn't answer, but his silence said enough. The penthouse was overwhelming. Floor-to-ceiling windows, clean lines, muted tones, minimal but luxurious in a way that didn't need to announce itself. Avery stepped inside slowly. Wow. Jihoon closed the door behind them. You'll have your own room, he said. Private space, no restrictions. She turned, studying him. No restrictions? None. That's surprisingly generous. It's not generosity, he said. Then what is it? A pause. Then, trust. Avery blinked. You trust me? I trust that you'll make the right decisions. And if I don't? Jihoon stepped closer, not threatening, but present. Then I'll deal with it. Her pulse quickened again. Deal with it how? Another pause. Dangerous this time. You'll find out. Avery let out a breath. See? That right there. You can't just say things like that and expect me to stay calm. Jihoon's lips almost curved. Almost. I don't expect you to stay calm. Great. She walked further inside, dropping her bag lightly on the couch. You have food? She asked. Yes. Real food. Not hospital-level sadness. Yes. A small smile tugged at her lips. Okay, that's a start. By the end of the week, routine settled in. Strange, unexpected, but real. Jihoon left early every morning, returned late, but always checked on her. Always made sure she ate, always noticed small things, like how she preferred her coffee, or the way she avoided calls from Daniel, or how she lingered by the window at night, watching the city, thinking. You're staring again, he said one evening, stepping beside her. Avery didn't look away. It's peaceful, she murmured. From up here, everything looks manageable. It's not. I know. A pause, then, but it feels like it could be. Jihoon watched her quietly. You're adjusting, he said. Is that a good thing? Yes. Why? Another pause. Then, because it means you're not running. Avery finally turned to him. And what if I should be? Jihoon didn't hesitate. Then I'd already be chasing you. Silence. Thick. Charged. Avery's heart skipped. You're serious? Yes. She exhaled slowly. You don't make this easy. I'm not trying to. A beat? Then why do I feel safer here? She asked quietly. Jihoon's gaze softened. Because you are. She searched his eyes, looking for doubt, hesitation, anything. But there was nothing. Just certainty, unshaken, and that scared her more than anything. 2 days later. It happened. The shift. The moment everything changed. They were at a private restaurant in Apgujeong. Soft lighting, quiet atmosphere, a place where conversations felt important. Avery laughed softly at something Jihoon said. Wait, you're actually funny? Since when? Since always. I don't believe that. You don't have to. Their food arrived. Bulgogi, rice, small side dishes neatly arranged. Avery took a bite, closing her eyes briefly. Okay, that's good. Jihoon watched her, too closely. You're staring again, she teased. I know. A pause, then, and you're not stopping, she added. No. Her breath hitched slightly. Then, a voice interrupted. Well, this is unexpected. Avery turned, and her stomach dropped. At Daniel, standing there, watching them, his expression unreadable, but his eyes sharp, cold, possessive. Enjoying yourself? He asked. Jihoon didn't move, didn't react, just watched. Avery swallowed. Daniel, you look comfortable, he continued. Very comfortable. His gaze flicked to Jihoon. And you, he added. Bold. Jihoon finally spoke. Careful, he said calmly. Daniel laughed softly. Or what? A beat. Then, or I remind you that you're not in control here. The words hung. Heavy. Dangerous. Avery's pulse raced. Stop, she whispered, but neither man moved, didn't look at her. This wasn't about her anymore. Not entirely. It was about power, and something deeper, something neither of them was willing to lose. And Avery, she was standing right in the middle of it. The tension didn't break. It tightened, like something invisible pulling all three of them closer to a point of no return. Avery's fingers curled slightly against the edge of the table. Daniel, please, she said softly. He didn't look at her. Not yet. His eyes stayed on Jihoon, cold, measuring. You think this is a game? Daniel asked quietly. Jihoon leaned back slightly in his chair, unbothered. No, he said. I think you're losing control, and you don't like it. A flicker, just for a second. Daniel's jaw tightened. There was never anything to lose, he replied. Then why are you here? Jihoon asked. Silence. Heavy. Precise. Daniel finally looked at Avery, and for the first time, she saw it clearly. Not love, not concern, possession. "You should come home," he said. Avery's chest tightened. "That's not my home anymore." The words slipped out before she could stop them, and once they were out, they stayed. Daniel blinked slowly, like he hadn't expected that. "You don't mean that." "I do." A pause, long, painful. "You're confused," he said, voice softer now. "You've been manipulated." "Don't," she cut in. Her voice trembled, but didn't break. "Don't do that." Jihoon didn't move, didn't speak, but his presence, steady, grounding. Daniel noticed. Of course he did. His gaze darkened. "You think he's protecting you?" he asked, almost amused. Avery hesitated. Just for a second, then, "Yes." Jihoon's eyes shifted slightly. Something in them changed, small but real. Daniel let out a quiet laugh. "Interesting." He straightened, adjusted his cuffs. "All right," he said. We'll do this properly." Avery frowned. "What does that mean?" "You'll see." And just like that, he turned and left. The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Avery exhaled slowly, her hands trembling now. "That didn't feel like it's over," she whispered. "It's not," Jihoon said. She looked at him. "And you're still calm?" "No." A pause, then, "I'm just prepared." That night, rain fell over Seoul, soft at first, then heavier, like the sky itself had decided something needed to break. Avery stood near the window again, arms wrapped around herself. Her thoughts wouldn't stop. Her heart, worse. "You're going to wear a hole into that floor." She turned. Jihoon stood behind her, sleeves rolled slightly, tie loosened, less controlled, more real. "I can't sleep," she admitted. "I know." A beat. Then, "Come here." She hesitated, just for a second, then walked toward him, slowly, carefully, like crossing a line she didn't fully understand. Jihoon reached out, not forceful, not demanding, just certain. His hand found hers, warm, steady. Avery's breath caught. "You're shaking," he murmured. "I'm not scared," she said quickly. "I didn't say you were." A pause, then, "But you should be," he added quietly. She swallowed. "Of Daniel?" "No." Another step closer. Now, no space between them. "Of how far I'm willing to go," he said. Her pulse jumped. "For what?" "For you." Silence. Absolute. Avery's chest rose slowly, fell, rose again. "You barely know me," she whispered. "I know enough." That answer again, but this time, it felt different, deeper. "I don't do this," she said softly. I don't just trust people like this." "I know." "Then why does it feel so easy with you?" Jihoon didn't answer immediately. Instead, he lifted his hand slightly, rested it gently against her cheek. Not rushed, not overwhelming, just there. "Because I'm not asking for trust," he said. Her breath hitched. "Then what are you asking for?" A pause, then, "Stay." One word, but it held everything. Avery closed her eyes for a second, felt it, that pull again, stronger now, unavoidable, and then she nodded, slowly. "Yes." Later that night, the world outside faded, the rain softened, and everything inside that penthouse narrowed. To them, to quiet breaths, to unspoken promises, to something fragile and powerful. They didn't rush, didn't need to, because some things weren't about urgency. They were about inevitability, and when Avery leaned into him, when his arms closed around her, it wasn't overwhelming, it wasn't consuming, it was safe, the kind of safe that felt dangerous because it mattered too much. The moment blurred, faded gently into the quiet dark. The next morning, Avery woke alone, the bed beside her, empty. Her chest tightened instantly, that familiar fear creeping in. Of course. She sat up quickly, heart racing. Jihoon? No answer. The silence felt louder than usual, too loud. Her thoughts spiraled fast. This is what happens. People leave, always. She stood, moving quickly through the apartment. Jihoon? The front door opened, and he stepped in, completely calm, holding a small paper bag. Avery froze. Relief hit first, then something sharper. You left, she said. He paused. I went out. You didn't say anything. A beat. I didn't think I needed to. Her chest tightened again. Well, you did. Silence. Jihoon studied her. Really looked this time, at the way her hands trembled, the way her eyes held something deeper than annoyance. You thought I wouldn't come back, he said. Not a question. Avery looked away. That's not the point. It is. She shook her head quickly. I don't like not knowing. Another pause. Then, I brought you breakfast, he said quietly, holding up the bag. Avery blinked. What? Hotdog, he added, from the place you mentioned. Her breath caught. You remembered that? Yes. Silence. Soft this time. Not heavy, not tense, just real. Avery exhaled slowly. I overreacted, she admitted. No, he said. You didn't. She looked at him, confused. You expected to be left, he continued. That's not overreacting, that's experience. Her chest tightened again, but differently this time. You're not supposed to understand that so easily, she murmured. I understand more than you think. A beat, then, I'm not leaving, he added. Simple, direct, final. Avery searched his face, looking for doubt, for hesitation, for anything that might break that certainty. There was nothing, just him. Unmoving, unwavering, and for the first time, she believed it. 3 days later, everything exploded. Jihoon's office door slammed open. His assistant rushed in. Sir, we have a problem. Jihoon didn't look up immediately. What kind? Legal and public. That made him pause. Explain. Daniel Blake filed a formal complaint, she said, accusing you of coercion, unlawful detainment, and misconduct. Jihoon's expression didn't change, but the room shifted. And, he asked, there's more. A pause, then, he's claiming Avery is being held against her will. Silence, cold, precise. Jihoon stood slowly. Prepare everything, he said. Sir, this could affect your license, your position. I'm aware. Another pause. Then, and it doesn't matter. His assistant hesitated. What are you going to do? Jihoon's gaze darkened slightly. End it. That evening, Avery stood in the living room, phone in hand. Her name was everywhere. News, articles, speculation. Her heart pounded. This is insane, she whispered. Jihoon stepped in. Calm, as always, but something in his eyes. Harder now. It's handled, he said. You call this handled? I will. A beat, then. I need you to trust me. She looked at him, and this time, there was no hesitation. I do. The confrontation happened fast, decisive, final. Jihoon didn't negotiate, didn't hesitate. Every document Daniel had forged, exposed. Every connection he used, severed. Every lie, destroyed. And when the truth came out, it was worse than Avery imagined. The accident, the manipulation, the control, all of it, intentional. Avery stood there, hearing it all, her world shifting with every word. Daniel didn't deny it. Not fully, because power had always been his language, but this time, he lost, completely. A week later, the city felt lighter, quieter, safer. Avery stood on the balcony, the wind brushing softly against her skin. Jihoon stepped beside her. It's over, he said. She nodded slowly. I know. A pause. Then I stayed, she added softly. He looked at her. And I meant it. Silence. Then, I love you. The words came steady, certain, unshaken. Avery's breath caught. You don't hesitate, do you? No. A small smile. Then, I love you too. Months later, the world had changed, but they hadn't walked away. They had chosen each other, fully, completely. The ceremony was quiet, elegant, held in a private garden just outside Seoul, hidden, beautiful, untouched. Avery adjusted her dress slightly, her hand resting gently against her stomach. Jihoon noticed immediately. Of course he did. You're tired, he said. I'm fine. You're not. A small smile. You worry too much. I don't worry enough. A beat. Then, you're carrying my child, he added quietly. I'm allowed to worry. Avery's eyes softened. You're allowed to love me, she corrected. Jihoon stepped closer, close enough to feel her breath. I already do. Always had. In ways he never expected. In ways that changed everything. And when he took her hand, when their fingers intertwined, there was no doubt left. No fear. No imbalance. Just choice. Just certainty. Just love. The kind that didn't ask for permission. The kind that stayed. The kind that won.